welcome to Oconomowoc High School. We really made this video to introduce you to the whole span of our introduction of scanners into the classrooms for attendance. And when we first started to look at it as a school, at the amount of time that we were spending taking attendance and what that took away from instruction, we really wanted to find a solution that would both teach kids responsibility for their own attendance here at school, but also gave teachers a bit of a break in taking attendance. What we found is all documented here for you. You can see from installation to students' feelings and the cultural impact that attendance scanners have really made on this environment. Important for us is to remember that our kids are going to go on to jobs and they're going to be required to check in. They're going to go to college and they're going to be asked to sign into classes. And so teaching this skill while they're still here in high school, where mistakes that they make are relatively inexpensive, is a good place for us to begin. And so we made the investment here at Oconomowoc High School, and we really today just want to introduce you to that whole process and what it's been like for us.
When we install these scanners, we use our hammer drill, pre-drilled 2 holes, put inserts in the holes, masonry walls or drywall walls, installed 2 screws, mounted the scanner onto the 2 screws. That was it.
In 2016, we installed a total of 80 machines, the attendance machines, around the building. And that was one for every classroom. In our large format spaces, we did more than one so that we could get students through in an efficient way. 2 in the band room, 2 in the choir room, a couple of the study halls. We have some mobiles that we installed that go with study hall supervisors around to the classes that they are teaching in.
The scanners, there's kind of 2 ways to get scanned in. You have the ability to punch a code in, and it's just your lunch code, and then you have the ability to take your ID or any barcode that has the same number sequence, and you can scan it. Actually, it gives the student ability to check in. So the way our system kind of works is you have everybody marked as not present until they scan into the classroom. And so once they scan in, either with their code or the ID, then they'd be marked present for the period. So one of the things I think I would notice is that students are definitely more cognizant of their attendance. So what I mean by that is students know whether they're marked present or absent much more often. So last year I feel like it came as a surprise to many students when they were, like if I'd call them down and say, hey, you were marked absent for these periods on these days, they'd be like, oh, I didn't know. Whereas this year I feel like students are much more cognizant about knowing and coming down when there are errors and stuff like that. They're more likely to be down here getting those corrected or talking to their teachers and getting them corrected.
Hi, I'm Sam Gaskin and I'm a senior, and I think that the attendance scanners actually bring a lot of good to the attendance aspect of our school in the sense that students are responsible for their own attendance. I think that'll help a lot when they're joining the workforce and they need to punch in to get paid. I also like that class can get started right away. Having said that, though, I think it is kind of a lot to expect students to be flawless, but I do think it brings a lot of good aspects.
Life before the scanners took a lot of time. When students would come in, when we started class every single day, we would have to kind of pause and make sure that we were checking every student in, inputting that to make sure that students were present on time, and as students started coming in to check in their tardy. The difference now this year with having the scanners is we're still aware of students' presence and whether they're here or not, and we are still making adjustments. But to put it in perspective, my first hour class has 48 students in it. It's a co-taught class with me and another teacher. There's a lot of days that we want students to come in on what we call work days and give them the opportunity to jump right into what they're doing.
One of the best parts about our attendance scanners here is it allows our learning environments to be more flexible than just in a classroom. So some might think, well, how can classes go into other areas of the building because your attendance scanners are connected to the wall? It's actually awesome because throughout our building we have attendance scanners placed, and as long as I have students and I know exactly where they're going, they can scan in anywhere and be considered present for that chunk of time. Another benefit to the attendance scanners is that when you have a class of, let's say, 46, or you have a club that has over 90 members, taking attendance back in the day used to take several minutes of precious work time. And now with our scanners, students, again, they're just going up, they're scanning it, and then what used to take 5-10 minutes out of our learning time now is done, taken care of, and you don't have to worry about it, or you can jump right in and get started with your work time, which is really nice.
Scanning in is really simple. You have your ID that you can just hold under the scanner and that'll sign you in really quick, or you can type in your 5-digit code, which works just as well. And then you basically find your seat after scanning in and wait for class to start. So transition-wise, when we used to have traditional attendance, you would come in, you'd find your seat, and then you'd have to wait 5 or 10 minutes for the teacher to take attendance, even longer if it was a sub. Now, it's all based on how fast the students can sign in. At first, it was a process. It took a little while for everybody to get used to, but now it's pretty seamless. It goes pretty quick.
First of all, I think rather than the preponderance of sort of evidence of attendance falling on my shoulders every day, it's really nice that this now becomes a responsibility of our students. And they have to scan in every day, every place where they are, every place where they're leaving to go. And I think that's a really great thing because it really makes the responsibility for their attendance here at school something that they have to focus on, which I'm a big believer in. I like the fact that there's now some pretty clear statistical evidence as to where a kid is or where they're not, based on whether they signed in or not. And if they fail to sign in, again, that doesn't become my problem at that point. It really becomes the student's responsibility to take ownership over their presence in a building or their absence in a building. It hasn't always been easy. The path of making a change like this that is a really significant way in looking at my presence in the building and a student's presence in the building, it's not easy. It's a transition, and so we've kind of gone carefully into the night with this project. But I really do think that when everybody gets the hang of it and when we've kind of like worked out the kinks, it's going to be the best thing that's happened to this school.
Well, we moved here from Oklahoma the first day of school, and that was really nerve-wracking. But also on the first day, we saw the scanners, and that was something completely different from what we had before. And when we first tried it, it was like really easy to use, like once they tell you how to do it. And then from there, it just becomes like a daily thing in your routine once you get to school.
So it makes things more simplistic instead of like having to, like the teacher saying, is so-so here, go scan in, and then get ready for class to start.
So on the issue of value with regard to installing these machines for you as a high school, I just want to take you through a little calculation. So if you can contemplate that each teacher used about 5 minutes per class to take attendance in the old system, and if you took that times 4 classes per day, which is what we have here in a block system, and sometimes teachers teach skinny, so it could be more than this, but we're just going to use 4 for today. And you took those 4 classes times 5 days a week, you got 20, times the number of teachers in this building, which is 95, times the number of weeks that we have in the year, and you come up with about a total of 76,000 minutes, which works out to about 1,266 hours of instructional time that I'm going to recapture across this building over the next year, or over the period of a year. And then if you took the average teacher's salary, which is about $65 or $65,000 per year, and you divided that out by the number of days, the per diem rate, down to an hourly rate, and multiplied it times that 1,266 hours that you're saving in time, you come up with about $570,000 in savings for the period of one school year. And I installed those scanners in each of the rooms here for about $50,000. So when we talk about value, it's difficult because how do you take the time and the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that every teacher gives to a kid every day and give that a dollar amount?
A big part of my job is keeping track of attendance. So ideally, what happens during the day is students go to their class, they scan in when they walk in the door. That way, kids can be accountable for their own attendance and don't have to rely on a teacher to see them there or not see them there. So we have good evidence that we can track if a kid somehow does get marked unexcused. We can see exactly what happened. Did they forget to scan in? Were they ill that day? we know ideally where everybody is in the building at every moment. So before we had scanners, teachers took attendance for each class. And for example, let's say the school resource officer would come to me and say, I need to speak with so-and-so. Are they here today? I would look at their attendance, and if there was nothing there for that hour, I would say, well, it looks like according to the computer, they're there. Sometimes the officer would go to get that student and it would turn out they were not there. They were absent that day. The teacher hadn't taken attendance yet, and that's why it showed that they were there when really they weren't.
So that is the process of scanners and their implementation here at Oconomowoc High School. And hope that this gives you the kind of information you need as you make your decision about whether or not this is the right choice for you as a school and for your kids. Just know that we're still in process, and what you're seeing is about 7 months of us working on this with kids and us introducing this to the student body. Give us another year, things may look entirely different again, and it may just be a seamless part of the environment. This has been a good process for us for learning for kids, and we're proud of the work that we're doing with the scanners.
Thank you.